This is Trophy Dark, the Plantation, part 2 of 2. A quick recap. I'm going to just kind of read some stuff off from the character sheet. This is mostly for people who might be watching the video, but our characters are Nima, Saray, and Vero. Nima is a witch and grave robber, or was a grave robber, and Nima has the drive of restoring the lost glory of the Caligulus Grove, and we've been kind of learning little bits about the Caligulus Grove as we go. Some interesting backstory stuff, especially with Nima's sister. I'm not going to go back into all that, but I do want to point out that right now, Nima, you have a condition whereby there is something under your skin, on your arm, and it's whispering, and you think it's your sister. And so far, it seems like you've just been trying to avoid acknowledging it. And so I think that's probably going to be a thing that comes up today, is sort of going into that more. And so that's kind of just where Nima is at right now. Saray is an oracle and disgraced courtesan, and she is trying to arm the resistance against this tyrant, Lord Hafir. Currently, Saray has a scroll tube or a letter from Lord Hafir, or about Lord Hafir. We haven't really quite defined it yet, but
just a correction. Nima has that too.
Oh, Nima has the
Lord Hafir.
Oh, you have the letter.
Tube. I do have it.
Oh, you have it. That's right. Okay, thank you. But yeah, so there's this letter from Lord Hafir. I think that's going to probably play into things before the end. And Saray currently has a condition, can't stop from eating something edible. So she's got to have it in her body. She sees it. Vero is our magician and defrocked priest. We saw a lot of Vero's grievance towards the church last week, and that was enjoyable. The drive is to become part of the swirling court, and currently has this nasty nervous tick where he is literally biting the flesh off of his finger, his thumb. We had a great scene at the end there where one of the decrepit nobles was licking the blood there before you plunged a dagger into him. I was going to check in with Shore and ask if you would give us just a kind of basic recap of where things are at right now with the group, kind of what's going on.
So, how I recall it, we'd been venturing from this alchemist shop, all seeking treasure, and we'd been led in the direction of this manor. And I was kind of using the smoke to navigate to the manor itself. We got, in that direction, and we met some strange fellow while we were making campfire, and he had some bugs crawling on him. Nima froze him in his tracks, and kind of after that point, everything got really creepy. And we had left there. I think we came across the group of nobles eating at the table. When we were, everything was going well until I think a quill was shoved in one of the nobles' necks, and that led to us kind of making our way away from the table after we looted them. And Nima ended up getting this letter sealed from the Lord Hafir. At that point, we came across a stagecoach with some bodies that looked like they'd been chewed on. Getting, kind of further along in the estate, we found some other, I believe we came across the rice paddies, and that's kind of where the scene of my betrayal happened, where I had been less happy about Nima's treatment of me, and I'd decided to speak with this man again as I saw him in the rice paddies, and listen to what he had to say. And now I have a furry spider friend crawling on me that apparently wants to enter my mouth to give me ultimate wisdom, which I haven't accepted yet. And at that point, I believe we were approaching the manor, and I think we saw some additional corpses on the side of the road that had been kind of prepared for eating. And I took some more nibbles, as it were, and I think, in my mind's eye, we're kind of walking up past that the building with the furnace and the chimney that I'd seen with the smoke, and to the manor house itself.
Yeah, that's a great recap. There's been a lot of treachery going on, little things, except for that incident with rice paddy, little things.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we just saw was Vero basically sending the group ahead. It seemed like Vero was like sending you ahead so that you would trigger the trouble, whatever that might be.
Yeah, we're doing the skull formation, but we're the two guinea pigs out in front.
Right. Yeah. It was described as almost like a pincher maneuver, is what it seemed like.
Yeah.
Like you were kind of going on the sides. So that's good. Okay. That's good enough for as far as like getting us kind of where we need to be as we begin ring 3. So the big house of the plantation is a Baroque monstrosity. It is done in what we in our world would refer to as a neoclassical kind of style, but it's fallen to ruin and disrepair. The ivory columns have turned a blackened yellow from just this smoke, which as you're getting closer, that smoke is just becoming so thick and just like in your mouth and in your lungs. You can see porch fence posts splintered and scattered about for kindling. The walls, cream colored, barely standing. And there's this doorway that was probably impressive at one time, that has probably had filigree and other gilt engravings, but all the gold has been stripped away. And the doorknobs and the hinges have been stripped away, and the doors just kind of are propped there. It's a double door. One's on the floor, one's on the ground, and one's kind of propped up. And I guess I would ask Nima and Saray, since you're the two that are kind of moving forward, I imagine sort of coming up like on either side of this grand porch. What do you do? We'll start with Saray. Oh,
I think I come up and kind of look at the door itself, and I'm just kind of running my hand along, the craftsmanship here, and kind of appreciating it, and just studying it, and maybe kind of listening in that to see if I hear anything from the porch inside the house.
Yeah, you do. You actually hear, it's faint, but you hear the sound of celebration, but it's a distant sound. Like imagine like you're watching a movie and in the background of the scene, there's music being played. It's not the foreground of the audio, right? It's like that. You can hear it like in the background. Nima, what are you doing?
I'm watching Saray move up the porch. Do I hear that noise as well? Or do I have to get up closer?
If you have to get closer, but you will hear it if you get closer.
Okay, but I mean, do I have to get on the porch, or
Yeah, you have to get on the porch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I wait and I stand off the porch, probably facing the door, and I kneel on both knees, and I begin kind of making that kind of low guttural sound, preparing a ritual of binding. But who I'm binding or what I'm binding, I'm waiting.
We shall see. We shall see. Very good. I like it. I did want to ask you, I wanted to kind of check in with you a little bit. We did last time, but I want to kind of revisit it. You believe that Saray tried to cast a spell on you, right? I mean, that's sort of like what happened. Like, if I remember correctly, Saray sent up some words, and then you, what was the spell? What did it do? Or what was the magic?
There was some arms or legs trying to
so
pull me
grabbing you. That's right.
Grabbing me, and I had to turn into
it had to
turn into a beast to fly away.
So I just wanted to check in. How are you feeling about all that?
I feel used to having a relationship where I do not trust the other person. I've spent a lot of time in isolation. That this doesn't surprise me, and doesn't even I don't even hold any ill will toward Saray, but I know that I do have to look out for myself, and that's always the thing that's the thing that's kind of propelling me forward and my ultimate goals. So
yeah, everybody had kind of grabbed some treasure on the way as you ran off from the noble feast where they were eating that vile pig. You grabbed that scroll tube, that letter from Lord Hafir. I'm curious, did you notice anything in Saray's pockets that that you want, or that maybe Saray is even trying to hide from you?
Ooh.
Think on it. I'm going to check in with Vero. Vero, I think we just see you standing there, having plunged your knife into this noble, the blood spurting, and him looking at you with his yellowed eyes and his cracked teeth and his sore-riddled face, the skin sloughing off of one cheek, and he just like collapses down at your feet. What do you do then?
Foul former noble. What befoulment has befallen you? At that, Vero, I'm not going to try to come up with one off the top of my head. He mutters under his breath a ironically appropriate adage from his faith, and then spit and then spits on this nobleman and says, "Fat lot of good the gods did you, huh?" And at that, he'll look around and then get down on knees and see if this guy has anything in his pockets.
While you're rifling through his pockets, the woman who recommended marriage, who was going to give you her dowry, you can see her crawling from the rice paddy stalks, her dress a tattered mess, her wig pinned to her head but hanging down the side of it, makeup smeared, and of course all the viscera and the gore. And she says, I can see that you are a man of action. I find that very attractive, you know.
I think Vero is probably startled by the voice, so he'll get up quickly and look at her and scowl at her and says, "Man of action, you say? I'm a wizard."
She says, "Oh, well, I suppose if we were to marry, then we would have some very magical nights together."
I believe I told you that I'm already taken.
She says, "Oh, my lord, look, your thumb. You seem to have cut yourself. Here, let me take care of that." And she tears a piece of cloth from her sleeve, and it was probably once fine lace, but now it's just a mess. And she's trying to wrap your thumb. Do you let her?
No, I don't. I try to pull away and no, stop, woman, stop fussing over me. We're not an item.
And she looks dejected. She says, "Very well. I suppose I am to remain unmarried until I am just an old crone that no one wants."
But can I ask you a question?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Vero smiles not kindly and says, he like nods his head toward the manor house and asks, I assume you've been in that place before, correct?
Oh, yes, it's marvelous. It belonged to some distant relations of mine. They used to throw the most wonderful balls. Oh, I can't wait to hear that music once again. And she sort of drifts off into a reverie. And here the music is swelling, Saray, from inside the house.
I would hear the conversations behind me and I'd be kind of startled as I, was kind of entranced by the music. And I look back to see this woman dancing and I call out, them again? Are you okay? And I kind of stumble over there, just kind of surprised. And I would see this, her trying to wrap his fingers. And I guess I would kind of run over and again stand beside Vero. I'm afraid he's taken.
She says, yes, that's been made abundantly clear, madam, thank you. I shall go back.
The music, do you hear it?
No, the music hasn't played in quite some time. Perhaps it is but a phantom, a ghost of what this place used to be.
Before you go, madam, is there a library in that house? And if so, where is it?
Well, yes, of course, but I mean, books are awfully decorative. But I think it's on the first floor, on the east wing. I didn't go there much myself, if I'm being perfectly honest.
And for what reason did you spend time in this house?
She says, well, and here she sort of gets a little sad looking. And she's glaring at Nima down the way. And she says, I think the old woman means to betray you, much as we were betrayed here years ago. And she turns and heads back towards the rice paddies.
I think I would get close to Vero and Saray kind of whispers in his ear, I sense menace among her. Do you not see it? She seeks to separate us. She's been trying to from the very start.
Clearly, these wretched ex-nobles are clearly not operating with their entire faculties. Whatever's befallen them is, well, if they weren't so hideous, it would almost be pitiable.
She is going to kind of lean in and kind of whisper in Vero's ear, there's none such valiant except for you here. You're the only one that I can trust. You will protect me in the end, won't you?
Vero does his best attempt at being completely reassuring. Of course, Saray, we are you and I are a team, and we will, you and I are a team, and of course, I will use my profound magics to protect you.
The alchemist was clearly confused when he recommended that one join us. She is
Nima.
more foul than the land itself.
Nima, you're making your preparations for the binding ritual. I think the preparations are made. Are you just holding it until an opportunity presents itself?
That was the plan.
Okay.
I was,
Kind of fire it off at a certain point.
yeah, like the door opening if something was there.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But obviously, when I see Saray move off of the porch, I have to, obviously we're not ready to enter, so I listen. I'm assuming
Saray would be trying to whisper. I don't know if she would succeed.
I mean, there's a little bit of distance between the front of the house and where Vera was, but
maybe not. Maybe I'm not listening for them.
Yeah, that's what I thought. The door. There's described two doors. One's on the ground. They're both off the hinges because somebody stripped the metal. The other door that's propped up falls and clatters to the ground on the porch. And you have a very good look inside the place. You see, it just looks like a rotten mess. Peeling plaster, shattered glass and plaster and debris. A grand staircase in the entry hall that looks like it's seen better days. The wood is rotted and busted through. But somewhere deep within the house, a glimmer, perhaps of gold or jewels. Maybe something that the people who left here in a hurry forgot.
I stand up and I go and join my comrades in the back. And I say to Sarah, who's brought us on this journey, well, here we are. You've brought us here to this place. And I motion to the door. I see nothing.
She appears over your shoulder. I see the glimmer of finery in there. Are you blind? And I kind of shove you to the side and start walking towards the door. Do you not hear the music?
No. Do you hear the music, Vero?
I was going to say, do I hear any music or not? Nope. Okay.
I think I turn to Vero. I'm sorry. I turn to Vero and I say, he's lost it. The man, the lady has lost it.
Vero shrugs and says, well, sometimes phantasms are only perceived by those the phantasms wish to perceive them. We should be wary. Yet we are at our objective, and we should then go in and see what we can find that has value. Clearly, the wretches that still reside here have no use for anything.
And I pull out the quill, touch the tip, and I'm like, well, that's what we're here for. After you.
Vero draws his dagger and I guess follows Saray inside.
Yeah, I followed Vero.
As soon as you step up on the porch, you can hear the music. As soon as you get close to the doorway, the music gets louder. And as soon as you cross the threshold into the manor house, the scene changes. It is no longer a place of rot and abandonment. It is vibrant, alive. The carpets beneath your feet are lush The wood is dark and polished. The paint is fresh and white. There are servants in dark blue livery and powdered wigs, flitting back and forth, left and right, with drinks and bits of food. You hear laughter coming from salon to your left. You hear intense academic discussion coming from the library to the right. And the music swells. There are musicians stationed in an upper balcony, looking down the entry hall, playing their instruments. And as you each look at each other, you see a different version of yourselves, a version of you that lived a life of extreme privilege, a version of you that didn't have to scrape by, didn't have to live in a forest, that didn't have to be a courtesan, or at least who could choose to be that way if they wished, who did not have to spend hours and hours scribbling in the dungeons of some cathedral. You are versions of you that never existed, but with enough money could. And a question I have for each of you is to describe one of your companions. Vero, please tell me how Nima looks to you right now.
When I look at Nima, I'm taken slightly aback. Nima is she's still Nima. She's still an older woman, with gray hair, but her hair is neatly coiffed. Her hair is neatly coiffed in a rather conservative bun. She's dressed in a simple but very elegant kind of dark olive green gown. It's not an evening gown, but it's something that an aristocratic woman would wear, instead of the alchemical and like odds and ends, like witch paraphernalia that she always carries around, like the various totems and fetishes. They are instead of those, they are pieces of jewelry that sort of evoke that sort of evoke the witchcraft implements and totems and potions and whatever that she would normally wear, that she normally carries about. And Jay, tell me, am I remembering correctly that she had a staff or a cane or something that she wore? Or am I not remembering that correctly?
Yeah, I think she has like some sort of cane or
okay.
I seem to recall a walking stick.
Yeah, walking stick.
Instead of like a natural cudgel walking stick, it's like made of ebony and has this like fine steel handle that's and the handle is it's highly polished steel, but it's in the end is like in the face of a man, sort of like I'm kind of imagining like an image of the Green Man.
I like it. I'm almost imagining, like the way you've painted the picture, I'm almost getting like a Maggie Smith and Downton Abbey vibe, right? Like this stately older woman, right?
It's kind of what I was going for, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Nima, tell us how Saray appears different.
I feel like she would look like back to her kind of noble origins. Well, yeah, noble origins. Very much in like that French Louis XIV Marie Antoinette, kind of powdered wig, kind of aesthetic mole, very pale, fair complexion, highly painted face, and then the bustle and the big flowing gown. There's something girlish about her that was missing, that I didn't see, we wouldn't have seen before, especially as she was eating eating, rotting bodies. See, I feel like she holds a fan and is fanning herself, and just decorated with jewelry. And one of the necklaces that she holds on, the many necklaces she has on, is has that symbol of Lord Hafir, the same symbol that Saray is constantly talking about and on our journey.
Yeah, it's good. Thank you. Saray, tell us how Bureau looks different.
I feel free to give your input on this, but I kind of picture him in a elegant three-piece suit with kind of this like shimmering black cloak, but the cloak has maybe like a blue like thread embroidery on it, and he's got this very old, intricate looking silver monocle on a silver chain that he's kind of I don't know, maybe got kind of stuffed in his pocket at the moment, and just very, very elegant, very, dignified, and but some kind of air of mysticism to him, and some kind of mystery. Not quite as arrogant as some of the people surrounding us, maybe, and that we hear from the other rooms, but more of quiet and just observing. Does that sound about right?
That sounds great. I was kind of imagining him wearing like an Elizabethan ruffle around.
Sure. Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Nima, what did Saray hide from you? You can see it even in this fantasy.
She is around her wrist is a bracelet, and the bracelet has it has like a intertwining twig motif. And I remember seeing it when she was during our journey, but when she was in her normal self, it was more natural. It was made out of like intertwining twigs, and it might seem decorative, but it evokes something of the woods of which I come from the Grove. And I feel an urge and need to covet it. Like that's one of my things that I would like to have.
Interesting. Saray, and if you're okay with this, I think this might be a good opportunity while everyone's guard is dropped a little bit for Saray to notice the letter from Lord Hafir. How do you come upon this, Saray? How do you realize what Nima's hiding from you?
I think Saray would be so overjoyed by this change of scenery, and she's kind of used to this aristocratic life, maybe not seeing it from this exact perspective, but I think she's smiling, and she grabs both Vero and Nima's hands, and as she does, she's trying to like spin them in a circle, and maybe as she's like kind of like joyously spinning in a circle, the letter or the tube kind of falls to the ground awkwardly, and she stares at just kind of pauses and stares at symbol and this kind of look of shock and betrayal as she looks up at Nima.
And I think at that precise moment, the illusion of this place drops away. You are in, it's the room you're in is a shell of what you just experienced. You just see remnants of the opulence picked over like a vulture picking over a corpse. The chandeliers have been emptied of gemstones. Silverware has been stripped of silver. Anything of value seems to have been torn away by the root. You see despoiled skeletons all over the place where people were previously standing, flensed of their flesh, drained of their blood, bones cracked for marrow. You see other bodies trussed up in the sitting room, naked except for their powdered wigs, suspended from ropes lashed to rafters. Some of them nailed across door frames. I would like for everyone to make a ruin roll right now, please. Everyone's keeping it together as far as ruin goes. Time has passed in an unusual way because the sun is now squarely down behind the stalks of the rice paddies. It is dusk or close to dusk. You are going to have to light lanterns or torches in order to keep seeing inside the manor house. But darkness is coming ever quicker. And you hear something in the distance.
From his pack, Vero pulls out an oil lamp and a match and lights the lamp so that we have some light to see.
You can hear heavy sloshing footsteps in the water of the rice fields. And whatever is moving through the rice fields, there are several of them, at least, and they are each individually quite bulky because you can see the silhouettes of the rice stalks bending widely as these things get closer.
I might suggest that we find a hiding place, I whisper.
I think Saray is fallen to the ground and she's just clinging to this tube and she starts to have a vision. And I'd like to make a ritual roll if I could.
To do what?
To scry.
Oh, I like that. We'll come back to that in a moment.
Okay.
You hear out in the fields the sound as whatever these things are approach. It's a deep, guttural, animal-like sound, a sort of and so passes ring 3. Let's take a 5-minute break. So as I've described, these guttural animal-like noises, shadowy shapes, as they get closer though to whatever light is being cast by the setting sun near the house, as you can see them better, you realize that they are pallid, bloated, pig-like figures. Some of them walk on 2 legs, some of them walk on 4. Their fur is spattered with mud and gore. They have yellowed tusks. And most of them, there are about half a dozen, have large tools, rusty hooks, blood-streaked knife, a dripping cleaver.
Put out the light.
I douse the light.
Good.
Quickly, and then yeah.
Saray, you said you were going to try to scry. I'm curious what you're hoping to accomplish here.
So Saray kind of drops to the ground, and she would look at this tube, and I think as she kind of runs her fingers over the symbol of Lord Hafir, she can't help but have a vision. And what she's kind of hoping to do is
it could
get
even
a vision
be what you're
of,
hoping to do as a player
Yeah.
too. It doesn't have to be her, right?
yeah. As a player, I'm hoping to get a vision of Lord Hafir and what he's doing now, and fill in a little bit of backstory on their kind of relationship.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
Is she having that vision? So she's having a vision right then? Or?
Yeah, in the middle of this dangerous moment.
Yeah.
It's good. No, I like it. It's risky, right? Even though the goals here are not to do anything to do with the pigmen, it's risky for you to be in a fugue state while this is going on, right?
Yeah.
And so Jay and Mike, what do you think could go wrong here in this moment? Specifically for Saray.
Well, the first thing that comes, the thing that comes immediately to mind is this ritual. You like make some vocal, we're trying to be quiet here, but Saray makes some kind of like droning or intonation or some kind of sound while she's casting this ritual, which attracts the attention of these pigmen.
That would be a problem.
I was along those lines of attracting their attention, but the good part is that Vero and Nima would probably be safe from whatever attention is being. So that might be a plus, and if you want to play it from all angles,
Yeah, I actually think I think that's probably that's probably the most straightforward and obvious thing. So we'll kind of see where that goes. Let's talk about your dice. Are you getting a light die for your skills?
I am skilled in rituals, I believe.
Okay.
Double check.
And I believe you are. And you are. And also trances. This is almost more like a trance, really, right?
Yeah.
I just got a warning that my internet connection is unstable. Am I sounding okay to everybody?
You're fine to me.
You break up just a tiny bit.
Okay. We'll keep an eye on it, see how it goes. So yeah,
I'm hoping to use the scry ritual, which says choose one fact and know it to be true.
Oh, good. So yeah, you've got a die from trances and rituals. I think that's great. Let's talk about devil's bargains. Who has a bargain to make?
So my goal here, I guess, to kind of fill you guys in, is to figure out how Lord Hafir is connected to this situation.
Well, this one's an obvious one when you're using a scry, but I'm not sure how much it would impact the situation, but who knows? One devil's bargain is no matter what, Lord Hafir knows you're scrying on him.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no matter what, you make contact with Nima's sister.
Physically or mentally?
I don't know. Take the bargain and see.
All right.
I think no matter what, whatever's inside that tube is not a letter.
Okay.
Those are all pretty good. Yeah.
All right. I my favorite one, because I already had my heart set on the letter, is Lord of Fear knows that I'm scry on him, and that as I have this vision, I kind of see him looking kind of up from what he's doing.
I like that. That could probably play into your epilogue, most certainly.
Yeah.
Two light, one dark. Go for it.
Okay. So this is going to be risk 2-1.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Dark is high, so you have to stop. It's a 5. It's a success with a
Mhm.
complication, and your ruin goes up by 1.
Okay.
So the complication, quite simply, is going to be while you're in your fugue state, you are vulnerable to the pigmen.
Okay.
But go ahead and tell us, how does the ritual go, and what do you learn?
So seeing that the ritual is risky for me and I'm seeking wisdom, could I take the spider into my mouth at the same time?
Yeah, I love that.
All right. Would that be a reduction roll now, or would that be after, or
Oh, you
would
mean
it-
for purposes of the reduction roll? We'll do it in a minute. Just describe
Okay.
for now what happens.
Sure. So I have this vision, and I see Lord Hefir, and the man has changed. He was once just and cared for his people, but ever since I've given him the prophecy that he would be killed by one he loved, he spurned me first, and now everyone that gets close to him, he's paranoid, and he's lost kind of control of his kingdom. And you see him kind of crouching in his room alone, and just kind of, I would say, kind of writing another death order for the latest courtesan that got a little too close. And he spurned me for saying this, and now he looks up as he's writing this death order, and he looks up and knows that I'm staring down, and you can see the hatred in his eyes.
I love it. Nima and Vero, Saray is being unresponsive. Saray is being unresponsive, and you can hear the heavy hooves on the porch of the pigmen. You can see one of the pigmen pushing their bulk through the front doors. Vero, what do you do?
I know what I want to do. Well, I mean, why should Saray have all the fun with rituals? I am going to use my magic on one of them. I'm going to use my inhabit ritual. I want to take control of that lead pigman, and I want to, and like then as the pigman, I want to like turn on one of his companions and start fighting them.
This sounds real safe. I love it. What could go wrong here, Shore and Jay?
I think.
Go
go
for
ahead.
it.
I think no matter what, it drives them all into a frenzy. Whereas we were unsure of their what they were going to do. Now they're out for blood. So
This would be a failure condition. So
Yeah.
it would, yeah, but I like it. Like they just start smashing through the place and going, yeah, that's pretty intense. I think it could be as simple as you do inhabit the pigman, but as the pigman, you feel compelled to strike one of your companions, but you get to choose at least.
Yeah, I think those are both good. I think, as you're trying to inhabit this creature, maybe the mental strain is so great that you're almost in the similar state as Saray, invulnerable.
I love it. This is good. Let's talk about your dice. Your first light die is in the bag. Don't worry about that. But let's talk about the devil's bargain die. This is the good one.
I would absolutely consider one.
Yeah. I'm going to say no matter what, you're going to learn the origin of these pigmen. You may not like that, but you will.
I think no matter what, one of the pigmen kind of bursts a window and starts crawling in next to us.
Oh, is that right on top of you? Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter what. Oh God, I don't know if it's too close to Jason's. No matter what, when you inhabit the pigman
Habits you.
inhabits you. it's like a swap.
Freaky Friday. Yeah.
But you could be more subtle, more sublime than that. But
I think of those
Freaky
devil's
Friday
bargains.
Body swap.
I'm sorely tempted for that one. The player is most intrigued by learning the origin of the pigmen, and I can't imagine that's going to be good to know.
yeah, I'm curious myself.
This is definitely going to be one of those, like things mankind was not meant to know. But yeah, I'm going to go with that one.
Okay. Give us the dice. 2 light, 1 dark.
So, risk 2-1. Let's see how it goes. Light 4.
The complication is quite simply going to be that I like the earlier suggestion of the pigman bursting through. A pigman bursts through right on top of, essentially it's on top of Saray and Nima because you're going to be in the body of the pigman, but it's on top of all 3 of you. And Saray is super vulnerable because Saray is in a fugue state, in a trance. And Vero also will be. And so it's going to be kind of on you, Nima, to deal with the pigman or to make an offering to the pigman and save your own skin. That is also an option. And so if you are okay with that, Mike, you can let it stand. Otherwise, you have the ability to add another dark die. So try again.
I think I'm going to press it. It's trophy. Let's press my luck.
So now roll 2 light, 2 dark.
What's the worst that could happen?
Nice.
Hey, full success can happen, but your ruin goes up. But total full success, no complications. Go ahead and describe it. What does this look like?
Okay, so I'm still imagining Vero is like sort of like a high fantasy, almost like Jack Vancian kind of wizard. So he is like doing like the D&D wizard casting a spell, and he finishes the spell and he suddenly just kind of like goes limp and closes his eyes because he's projecting his spirit into the pigman. Before he goes limp, his eyes glow kind of greenish as to the pigman's eyes, and then Vero's in the pigman, and so as the pigman, Vero then turns and turns and grunts at one of the other pigmen that's nearby. That other pigman's guard goes down, and then Vero, as the pigman, just takes his giant cleaver and like whacks at the other one like right across the neck. And I'm going to say, Jason, tell me if I'm going too far with this. Like just decapitates the other pigman. Which causes the other pigmen that are farther off to be like suddenly
to reel back a little bit.
Reel back a little bit. And at that, Vero, as pigman with cleaver, just brandishes his cleaver and just charges at them.
Mm.
And right as Vero as Pigman is right on top of the other two, that's when he breaks the spell and comes back to his own body.
But not before you get a vision of what happened to them. And we'll talk about that in a moment. While you're having your scene there inhabiting the Pigman, I think this would be a good time for Saray to put the spider in her mouth and see if Nima notices or not. I think this will be a key moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So roll your reduction. Let's see how that goes.
All right.
It goes down and it is surreptitious. Give us the scene of the spider entering your body.
So I think that she's kind of convulsing on the floor as she sees him staring back, but she still has enough control that she can sense the spider kind of crawl onto her face, and it's kind of taps her lips, and she knows what it intends to do. And in this kind of, I think, kind of a flicker of awareness, she sees what's happening in the room, and she opens her mouth out of desperation, and it crawls down her throat, the throat bulging as it crawls down, and she's horrified. She's like full with fear, but not quite done with the actual vision of scrying. And I think she just kind of, as it crawls down her throat, she almost passes out exhausted. That's kind of what I'm seeing.
Good. I love it. Let's give Jay a moment to come back and then we'll continue. For a second. Okay. I think here's how I want to handle that flashback to like what happened to the servants. I think I'm going to go with another. I don't think this is something that you experienced, Vero. I think you triggered it. Nima, you experience it first. Laying there on the ground, watching Saray, watching Vero collapse, watching the Pigman go attack his companions. You can tell that you're back in the past of this place. Not a party like before. It's nighttime. But you can tell that you're back in that space. Laying there, how do you know it, Nima?
I feel like the tables have been pushed back, like the servants have just finished cleaning it, and there's still cleaning implements. So it's very dark and blue everywhere, but it just seems like a party's just ended and there's still like glasses to be picked up. And it's in midpoint of being finished by the servants.
A servant walks up to you, Nima, and says, No lounging about. No lounging about. The Lord has requested his special meal. Can you bring it to him? We're all a little busy down here.
I'm looking. What does he look like?
It's a middle-aged man, powdered wig, blue livery.
And do I look different? Am I in my same clothes as normal? Or?
I think you look normal. Yeah.
Okay. And is he pointing me in a direction?
Oh yeah.
I follow.
He says, here. And he takes a silver dome tray, a tray with a silver dome over it, puts it in your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Says, now remember, don't look him in the eye. And before you speak, make sure your head is below his. And wait to see if he's satisfied before excusing yourself. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right then.
Can we pause the video one
Yeah.
more time? Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
sure. It's okay. So he hands you the tray with your instructions. What do you do, Nima?
I look back. I look back at my comrades. Are they still dealing with the pigs and the?
Yeah, it's all as you left it. Yeah.
Mhm. And I'm assuming that I'm being led by this servant to an.
He's just sort of directing you to the room you need to go to. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Little upstairs situation.
I make my way upstairs,
Yeah.
but on the way up, when I can tell that the servant's not looking, I peek underneath the silver tray.
As you go to reach for the silver tray, you hear that voice from underneath your skin whispering again, "Don't look. Don't look."
I'm like, I'll look if I damn well please.
No. If you look and he finds out, we'll both be punished.
I'll be okay, Kiva.
Do you look?
And I look. Of course I do. Yeah.
You open the dome, and it is a beautifully presented forearm. It's slick and shiny with honey glaze. It's nestled in a bed of greenery with sprigs of sage and thyme atop it. It looks well prepared, at least. Make a ruin roll.
That's / ruin, right? I'm good.
How do you feel?
I'm kind of transported back to when we first walked into the place and we saw this gala happening, and I feel the same way. Like there's an element of disgust with the kind of opulence of everything, and maybe there's a little bitterness of how others have it so good, where I've had to suffer. Me and my sister had to suffer all these years. And although I think it was established that I had tasted flesh, it was only for sustenance. It was not. I did not enjoy it. So I'm very disgusted. And I whatever negative feelings I had for this lord or whoever it is, it's kind of amplified when I see how decadent his meal is.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Saray and Vero, both in your respective trances that you're sort of coming out of, you can hear in the background the wild guttural squealing of the pigmen outside as they lash out against each other. They're kind of fighting each other now at this point. You just hear that loud kind of going on. And someone is rushing up to the two of you from the rear of the lower floor where you're at, like what would be the kitchen or the servants' area. A scullery maid of some sort by her dress, but she rushes up to the two of you and she says, quick, while the Lord is having his midnight meal, his midnight feast. Come, now is the time. Hurry, quick.
I think Vero looks at Saray. Is she out of her trance at this point?
Yeah, I think you're both kind of come to now.
I think Vero is ever so slightly confused now that he's returned to his body, and more or less goes along with this.
I think Saray
all right.
kind of, yeah. Saray is also kind of staggering to her feet and wondering what strange wisdoms the spider speaks to her at this point, if it does. If not, she's just kind of dazedly looking at this woman.
The spider will speak to you.
Mhm.
The spider says, if you go, you will meet the queen.
She kind of swallows in fear, and she starts looking at Vero. Shall we proceed?
Yes, yes, we shall.
She's letting you take the lead.
I think Vera will take the lead, and we'll follow this servant. Vero's hand is on his dagger.
Servant takes you towards the rear of the house, back through the kitchen, back further even to what would be the servants' quarters. A little paint the scene question for everybody at the table here. How do we know we're in the servants' quarters?
For one, like the opulence that we'd seen with the fancy wallpaper and the paneling and the woodwork. Yeah, none of that's here. It's pretty much just plain plaster walls in the servants' areas. The furniture is Spartan and functional.
I like that, and I would add, I think there's kind of a rough, like made out of like burlap sack dolls that look like they're being kind of stitched together, kind of out of free time. Some kind of like stitched heads on there with button eyes, and it's nothing that nobility would appreciate. It's very crude.
Jay, what do you think?
I feel like, well, they're near the kitchen, right?
Yeah, like just
Yeah.
past it. Yeah.
Yeah, there are dishes of half-eaten food that have been brought for cleaning, and so very functionally there is just, if you have that kind of Spartan servants area, you had to, by contrast, these kind of silver dishes of like pastries and pies all over.
Yeah.
Just the contrast of that would
For sure.
hint.
The servant quickly takes you to a back room where there are several small beds kind of lined up on one wall, and there's a rug, and she tosses back the rug to a trapdoor in the floor, and she pulls it open, and there's a ladder going down. Do you go down?
Is the servant so the servant's descending the ladder?
She's going to, but she's letting you go first.
I look to Vero.
Can I add a detail to this scene?
Sure.
On the underside of this trap door, can we say that there's the sigil of the swirling court?
Oh, I love that. It's good. Yeah, absolutely.
In which case, Vero sees that and 100% goes down the ladder.
I think I kind of see his eagerness, and I kind of put a hand in front. Be careful. There might be. I've heard strange things. Something about a queen. Keep your wits about you.
Always.
You're descending down into this dark space beneath the servants' quarters. Let's cut back to Nima for a moment. Nima, you walk into what appears to be like a little private dining room, just a simple but elegant round wood table. And there is a man sitting at it. He is youngish, dressed in beautiful satins and velours, lace, powdered wig on his head, jewels on his fingers. He looks very soft, and he smells of powder. And he sees you come in with the tray, and he says, "Well, I almost had to wait."
I very quickly size him up, and I see those things, but then I Nima is very pragmatic. That's how she survived so long. So she's going to do what the servant told her to do, avert my eyes. I don't have to crouch on too much because I'm already kind of hunched over a little bit, and make my way over there and listen and pay attention to if there's anyone else in the room.
There is. You see, standing in the corner of the room is Kiva, as you remember her from when you were young. And her left arm is missing from the elbow. Make a ruin roll, please.
Yeah. That's harsh. Ooh, no. I did a 5. My ruin goes up.
So you're going up. How do you feel?
I mean, it's like a lock has just gone in there, and I make the connection. But I bite my tongue because I haven't gotten this far by acting so without thinking through what I'm doing. But I know that it's my sister's arm. I just know to my core that's my sister's arm. But I look at her, and with a glance, I communicate why. Why is this happening?
And there's no response, but the part of your arm where your sister is, where there's the lump where you hear her whispering voice, it's itching terribly.
Oh, that's driving me crazy. And I want to scratch it, but I can't. I have to serve this character who I have every intention to kill.
The young lord says,
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a bit of a novelty tonight, shall we? Please, servant, sit down. Join me.
I place the tray onto there's a little table, right? I'm assuming there's a table in front of him.
Yeah, it's
I
a table.
leave
Yeah, there's a chair on the other side as well.
Yeah, and I leave this dome on top. And then I look around and I pull the chair up and I sit.
He says,
and I put my, what I do is I kind of rest on my cane a little bit, but in my cloak, I grab the porcupine quills.
Good. He says, tonight we dine as equals. And he lifts the dome, revealing the arm. He says, honey and sage, marvelous. I love it. Yeah. And he takes his knife and fork and he begins slicing off a thin sheet meat. And your sister's just standing in the corner, stoic, watching all this take place. We'll cut there.
Okay.
Vera and Saray.
Okay.
No, go ahead. Actually, go ahead. I want to hear what you say.
I say, it kind of chokes out of me. I'm like, Master. Do you know what they say about those who taste this flesh of others?
He says, oh, are you going to share some of your provincial folk wisdom with me?
Yes.
I can't wait to hear it.
The spawn, this takes up residence in the body, and maggots turn into these flies. At least that's what they would say in where I come from, in the country. Then those who have tasted flesh are ever accompanied by these foul flies. Have you ever seen that?
He says, "No, don't be ridiculous. I've been eating your kind for months now." And here, as he says this, you'll notice there's a fly trapped in his powdered wig and the strands, struggling to get free.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back down in the basement, you see other servants gathered there. Vero, Saray, the servant who brought you there, she joins you. There's a lantern set in the middle of the room, a little table. And there's a woman down there. She's actually appears to be maybe not a noble woman, but certainly of higher class and more money than servants. She's wearing a gown with bodice and wig and all that, And she's very beautiful. And she says, "Now, everyone gather round. I promise to help you, and I always like to keep my promises. You beckoned me to save you from the depravity of your lords, and I intend to do that. Now, everyone, please join hands." Everyone's joining hands in a circle around her. Do you?
I think Vero is convinced that this woman is somehow connected to the swirling court and will absolutely join in.
I think Saray is very hesitant, and you'd have to kind of drag her over there. She's looking at this room and just kind of scanning it for exits and trying to be very strategic. She doesn't trust anyone here.
I don't think Vero is going to try to compel her to join.
Saray would stand back alone as the others form in the circle, then kind of hiding in the shadows, just lingering.
Repeat after me. You don't have to repeat here, but everybody will be repeating after her. She says, "We call upon the gods of the old world. We call upon the ancient mothers and fathers who till the fields, who raise the animals. We call upon their servant, Saint Hester of Plenty. We call upon the shepherds, the swineherds, the farmers of old. We call upon you to give us the strength and the power to rise up against those that harm us." There's real magic going on here, Vero. Even though this is not taking place in real time, even though this is just a vision, even though you can sense it. What is it about the magic of the swirling court that surprises you here, Vero?
I think the thing that surprises Vero is the invocation of Saint Hester and the gods. And Vero had thought that the swirling court was something that was separate from, or perhaps even opposed to, the gods and the sisters. The invocation of the gods is taking him aback and is causing him to for the moment, question some of his assumptions and some of his prior actions.
In the vision, the woman looks up at you, directly at you, Vero, and says very quietly, almost like to where no one else can hear. She says very quietly, "Don't worry, you haven't got it wrong. There are no gods, there are no saints. They are all from the dark places, and they all offer their power willingly. You just have to say the words."
I think while this is going on, Saray would kind of be fumbling with the tube, seeing if she could open it.
You can.
And would she find a letter inside?
I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? Out of character, what do you think?
I think it would work. I think I like the letter idea. So if you want to roll with that, I'm happy. Unless anybody else has any other ideas.
You find the letter. You can decide on the contents, maybe as you wish, or as in your epilogue, or however you want to do it. But I'm curious, do you have any thoughts on what the letter might say?
I do. I imagine that it's a very noble letter of introduction from Lord Hefir for the entire party, stating that they will be arriving and that to show them the best of entertainment and please have them for dinner, as he's signs his signature at the very bottom.
Very good. As the words are spoken down in the basement, all of the servants collapse to the ground and begin to writhe in a combination of excruciating pain and incredible ecstasy. They begin to twist and change shape. Their noses become like the snouts of a pig. Their fingers and hands, their fingers and feet begin to fuse together into hoof-like shapes. Saray, hungry Saray, you can feel little tusk nibblings just inside your lip.
I think she would start freaking out. There's probably like tears running down her face now, and she's kind of feeling the tusks start to grow, and she's just feeling helpless as she kind of hears them chanting in the circle. And I don't know if she has the strength to stand, but there's something in her that tries to survive, and she kind of looks up to the ladder, thinking. Trying to pull herself towards the ladder.
Vero, where your thumb was missing a digit, it begins to smooth over and harden, and you realize that it's becoming hard hoof. And makes it somewhat difficult to manipulate your spell work, actually. But that's what's happening.
I am going at this point, once I realize that we're being transformed into these pigmen things, I am going to try to resist the transformation and start. So Vera's just going to start shouting blasphemies about about the gods and the saints, and that this spell that this woman was casting is both a sham and a lie, and I want to try to resist. I want to try to resist my own transformation, and if that helps Saray too, cool. But I'm not going out of my way to help her. Sorry.
Indeed. In fact, you both find yourselves back in the entry hallway on the ground. the house in the state of disrepair that it was in previously, and no parts of you are changing into pig. Nima is still nowhere to be seen, though. Nima, back with the noble who's eating bits of your sister and who clearly has already got the flies in and around his body. He says, "What shall we do to her if we discover her taste is not pleasing?"
Who says that? That's
The noble says that to you. Yeah. If she doesn't taste good, what should we do?
Whatever you wish, Lord.
Well, I can think of all manner of appropriate punishments, but I'm giving you the choice. Remember, we are equals tonight.
Ah. And he is referring to you're referring to to Kiva. We should make her pay.
Oh yes, how so?
We feed the rest of her to the pigmen.
The pigmen, is that some sort of agricultural job I'm not aware of?
Yes, the people who feed the pigs.
Oh, I see. We feed. Oh, very intriguing. Yes.
Do you find her taste to your liking?
What do you think? And he takes a bit of meat and folds it gently around a fork and moves it to your lips.
Look, and I point there, and I point to one of the flies. Do you see it? The flies.
Oh, yes. Well, they're dreadful this time of year, aren't they?
Yeah. No, please allow me. And I make motions to kind of help and to brush the flies away from him, but I'm moving toward him.
Okay, and then what?
Okay, and I say, I see there's the flies, and let me take care of this for you, Lord.
Yes, please do.
Then I pull out the quills and I stab him right in the eyes.
Good. And you come out of this as well, but you're holding the quill inside the empty socket of a skull wearing a powdered wig sitting at the chair, or a skeleton wearing the powdered wig sitting at the chair. Everything's covered in dust. And you hear the chaos downstairs.
Yeah, I spit at the skull and I kick it over.
Yeah.
And I look around for Kiva. She's not there.
Yeah.
I take a deep breath and I make my way downstairs.
So passes ring 4. Let's take a 5-minute break. Saray, at this point, the spider speaks to you in the voice of the man from the woods, the one that you were conspiring with earlier, who gave you the spider. That's how you hear it, as if he's speaking to you. And he says to you, "This is all wrong. This house is not where you need to be." And as soon as he says that, you look out a window across the yard to the red brick building with the smoke coming out of the chimney, the one you've been seeing in your vision the whole time. That's where the real treasure lies.
She would stare out the window and, she sees maybe the same window that the little girl was looking out, staring back at the house, kind of seeing the opposite direction. And she just realizes the importance of this. And she would whisper to Vero and Nima. Would Nima be with us at this point?
I'd be coming down the stairs.
I've been spoken to by the spirits. I've had a vision. We need to go to the furnace. And she kind of points a finger out the window, towards the window. And you guys would see this, horrible looking kind of decrepit old brick building with a very tall furnace that still has smoke kind of billowing out the top.
As Nima's coming down, I don't hear that interaction. And I'm very annoyed. And I'm like, you, girl, you brought us to this place. There is no treasure here. This is a tomb, a raided tomb.
Lord of Fear, he must have paid off the alchemist. He led us astray. He knew that we were doomed.
Can I say that I noticed the tube? Is that all right? And you're stealing my possessions, and I snatch it back.
Do you try to snatch it back again, Saray? Because we do a contest roll to see who has control over it.
Yeah.
I know what's there now, and I let her take it, and I'm kind of have this defeated look on my face as you take it.
Mm-hmm. I was brought here with the promise of treasure. And
have you not filled your pockets?
We see ghosts and monsters. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
She looks at you. Have you not filled your pockets? I have brought doom upon us, yes, but I did not wish it. There's still hope yet.
Aye, there is still hope. I have not found the library yet. That wretch said it was around here somewhere. And at that, he looks at, he scowls at Vero scowls at the both of you and kind of trumps off by himself to look for the library, because what could possibly go wrong with that?
No, we must go to the furnace. I told you.
And as Vero is leaving, I lean in close to Saray, and I'm like, who told you?
I look at you, and you can see kind of my throat ballooning.
Yeah.
And I open my mouth, and the spider is sitting on my tongue. And you can see the little beady eyes kind of reflecting in the light of, I assume we have some kind of torch or something here.
I think there's a lantern. Or no, there was a lantern. There's not now. Now you're just kind of in ambient moonlight at this point.
Yeah. So in the reflection of the moonlight, you can see little beady eyes staring back at you.
And I say very slowly, I saw you. I saw you talking to that man. Is this what he gave you?
He's in me now. He's helping us. You must trust me.
You are a fool. You are a foolish girl, and you're going to get us killed.
What other help do we have? This gift that he gave me, it's our only salvation. You've seen the visions.
I've seen visions. But my visions don't lead us into the mouth of beasts, into the arms of foul creatures.
As she started talking again, she kind of swallowed the thing again, and it's kind of ballooning down. You can see it kind of crawling, and she kind of clears her throat. I'm afraid. I want to get away from here. Nima, you must trust me. I didn't mean to bring this doom upon us.
Yes. We can still survive yet. But we must be friends. And you cannot listen you cannot trust so wholly in this voice that you hear. And at the same time, I sit in a way that I'm also talking to myself.
Says the person with something in her arm that talks to her, right?
Yeah, talks to her. Yeah.
in your defense, you don't talk back to it. So I guess that's
Yeah.
something. Vero, you managed to find the library. It's on the ground floor. In fact, you might remember it from the vision even. The books are as soggy and rotten and decayed as the rest of the place. But something intriguing is in the corner of the room, a dark corner, there is a tall wingback chair, and you see someone sitting at it. Now they're in shadow, so you can't make out their features precisely, but you can tell by the shape of the dress, shape of the wig, that it's the woman from the swirling court who cast the enchantment on the servants. Maybe you just intuit that to be the case as well. But in any case, what do you do?
I think I'm going to, like, once I see her there, I think I'm going to walk over. I think I'm going to walk over to her and say, "So you're in the real world as well as in visions, are you? Who exactly are you anyway?"
Her face is still shrouded in shadow, but you can make out her hands in the moonlight that cuts across the room. They are the delicate hands of one who works with very precise magic. She says, "You are not going to find the things you seek in these books, even if they were in a state to be read. You are not going to earn your way into the swirling court by purloining treasures from beneath the floorboards of this manse. No. If you want gold, however you interpret that, whether that gold be literal gold or knowledge or power, you cannot have the gold unless you give the meat. This is the rule. So, you should join your companions. Join them at the furnace. And make your offering of meat and blood and bone. And she leans forward from the shadows, revealing her face. Her skin is porcelain fine. Her eyes are deep, rich brown. But she has tusks. She has a pig snout. She has pig's ears. Bat-like pressed down from her wig. Please make a ruin roll, possibly your final ruin roll. It's not. She says,
Not yet.
"Tell them you found a book explaining that all the treasures are hidden in the furnace. Take them there and make your offering." If you do that, I'll give you a reduction roll.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that.
So you can
And,
gather with the other two now if you wish.
Right.
When
So
Ver-
I'm going to grab a I'm going to grab a book off of the shelf that's in a language that I'm pretty sure neither of them can read, and it's kind of crumbling, but it's still like you can still read it, and it's hopefully it's still got like kind of magic-y stuff in it. I'm going to use that as a prop, and I'm going to take that to the others.
Yeah, and when Vero comes up back to us, I'm playing nice. I'm like taking Soray's hand, rubbing it, and it's like I'm so sorry. We must be friends, and if we're going to survive this, I will help you. If you help me, we're in this together, are we not?
She looks like kind of a frightened girl at this point, and she's crying. Did you not read the letter? Betrayal. I thought he loved me once. You're right. You're right. I must trust you. But the voice is inside.
The voices are lies. And I'm stroking her hair. And I say, you remind me of my sister Kiva. When we were okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna when we were young girls, we would play in the woods and we would pretend that we were part of a court of a lord, and we were his courtesans. But it's just a fantasy. You can trust none of them.
She seems to take solace in this, and I think that she would just kind of let herself be held by Nima, and until I would assume Vero comes into the room.
Yeah.
That sounds good. So Vero walks in holding this like moldy, this moldy, decrepit book, and says, "All right, I think I've figured out where they keep the treasure." And he looks out the window at the brick building with smoke billowing out. They kept it in the furnace room. I think we need to go there.
You see this look of betrayal like streak across Soray's face as she looks at Nima. You were trying to keep it from me. You were trying to keep it for yourself.
No, child. I did not
She
know.
staggers to her feet and kind of stumbles to the door.
I think I'd like the reduction roll from Vero at this point to see if anyone sees through Vero's lie here, or it's not actually a lie, but the motivation is impure for sure, and certainly the book is not real.
And I got a 4, which is less than my 5, so I guess my ruin goes down.
It does.
I'm sorry, my ruin goes down regardless, but I think
no duplicity detected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, keep going with the scene.
Yeah, so Soray like runs to the door and she like throws it open, and she's like stumbling across the yard towards the furnace.
And I think Vero will hustle to catch up with her.
And I make my way, but I hobble just a little bit. I'm like, you must remember, I am fragile. And I kind of play up my age a little bit. So I'm behind them.
As you go out there, at this point, time is so twisty, because at this point, it's almost like you actually see the glow of the sun peeking out over the horizon. It's dawn. Hasn't been nearly that long, but it is dawn. It doesn't feel like it's been that long. You see the pigmen laying here and there in the yard, sleeping. They're chins resting on their giant cleavers, a couple of them embracing each other for warmth, an echo of the embrace between Saray and Nima. There's a woman you have not seen yet, you don't recognize, unless someone has a skill in religion or history. Does anyone have such a thing? Or can make a case for it?
I've got omens.
Not good enough.
Okay.
You see this woman. She is walking out of the rice fields. She's wearing a dress made of amber that sort of looks like the light coming from the sun, peeking out over the horizon. And as she steps out of the rice fields, her arms are crossed in front of her, one holding a scythe, or a sickle rather, and one hand holding a sickle, and one hand holding a bundle of wheat. She steps out of the rice field and she's walking amongst the pigmen, as you are all walking to the furnace building. And she puts her fingers up to her lips at you all. And she kneels down by one of the pigmen. And she sets her tools down and gently strokes and caresses the pigman, soothing him, comforting him as you make your way across the yard.
I think Saray is still stumbling as she watches this sight, but her greed and her desire to prove that all of this sacrifice wasn't for nothing, she keeps moving towards the furnace.
The smoke is getting thicker and thicker as you get closer and closer to this building. And here I have a question for all of you. The smoke is savory and cloying, ambrosial, a rich, heady scent that's like nothing you've ever smelled. But it stirs your appetite. And a question I have for you is this. It starts to smell like success. It starts to smell like the fulfillment of your drive. Vero, what does it smell like to become a member of the Swirling Court?
It's a smell of incense. It's a smell of incense and perfumes, but also of mystery. It's mixed with the smells of like pages, like of old paper and old leather and old books. Like the smell of a library. And exotic spices. Mystery. It smells of mystery and power.
I love it. Saray, what does it smell like to finally raise arms against Lord Hafir?
I think Saray smells maybe the potpourri or the incense that burned in Lord Hafir's quarters, and she smells blood. She smells his blood, and it's very, pungent and irony smelling. And she feels that she finally has vengeance for what he has done to her, and is what he's continuing to do to her in this betrayal, sending her to her death, even though he was too cowardly to do it himself.
And Nima, what does the glory of the Caliganus Grove smell like?
It smells like the sun, sunshine when she was a little girl. It smells like fresh ponds and lakes that aren't covered with algae, choking from the algae. It smells like fresh earth and kind of green, and not the rotting fungus that lives there now. It smells like the old house that her and Kiva used to live in and built a life together.
I love it.
And it smells like the altar that they had built together, that was made out of intertwined vines and limbs.
You step into this brick firehouse. And you see quite a sight. The walls and floor of the place are coated with a thick, dark crimson. The ceiling has rafters that evoke a giant's rib cage, and there's blood dripping down from it. Huge rope-like maggots the length and thickness of a man's forearm wriggle and writhe across the floor. Fly-choked, flayed skins are suspended from the rib-like rafters, conjuring images of almost obscene laundry. And in the center of the room, this incredible heat, a massive greasy fire pit belching forth the smoke and soot. And atop the fire pit are dozens of overturned cast iron cookpots and cauldrons, each overflowing with rivulets of molten gold. A question for everyone. But first, a ruin roll from everyone.
I'm done.
Nima is lost to the plantation.
Mm-hmm.
How'd everyone else do? Good. The question, quite simply, is, will you risk searing your flesh to fill your hands with molten gold in this moment?
Can I leave it to a ruin roll?
Well, that was the ruin roll. Well, that ruin roll now is sort of meant to inform it a little bit. But
Okay. Yeah, I think that she would stumble forward, and seeing the gold and the opportunity to strike back and have vengeance, she doesn't think about the heat.
Can I will not do that, but and Jay, feel free to. I'm going to pose this as a player. As we approach this pit together, I know Jay Nima's at 6 ruin and is out. I am charged to make a sacrifice of flesh. So I was thinking of trying to like push you both into the fire.
I will let Jay decide. Since Jay's already at max ruin, Jay can decide how you want Nima to story to end. That's up to you. For Saray, it'll be a contest roll because Saray's still in it. So, but yeah, Jay, what do you think?
I mean, that I guess that can happen after.
See how it goes with Saray maybe first. See how.
Yeah, but I do see. So I mean, your original question was, do I accept the gift or accept the?
Or do you put your hands in the molten gold to take the gold?
Yeah, like I come in and I look at the area and tears well up, and I'm like, it's beautiful. And I see sunshine, the sunshine that I remember, like rays of golden sunshine. I just remember running through the kind of the those rays as it kind of dappled through the forest of the grove with Kiva. And I feel this itch of my sister. And I'm like, we can be together again. And I'll go to the rays of sunshine, and I let it pour all over my arms and that lump in my wrist, and then all over myself.
That feels like a good ending for Nima right there.
Yeah.
My question is, do you scream in pain?
Well, you saw Midsummer. Yeah, so it's like, oh, this is great. And then at the very end, I realized that it's molten gold, and I'm screaming.
Yeah.
In horror and pain.
Saray, when you go for the gold, do you scream in pain? Oh, you're muted. Sure.
I think I hear Nima screaming, and I start just calling out to her, yes, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? I told you there was gold. And I think she's reaching out for it, and she would start putting her hands into the pot.
The spider speaks. Before you can make your action, Vero, I'll give you a chance, but the spider speaks to your Saray in the voice of that man again. It says, the Sow Queen approaches. And here we see the same woman who Vero believes is from the Swirling Court, and who you both saw in the flashback. Here she is monstrously beautiful, beatific. Her gown is gore streaked. Her wig is like a white blood sponge. You can see her cloven hooves crushing bone and gold underneath. And she's dragging a sodden cloth sack the size of a grown man across the room towards you. And she empties the contents into the fire pit. Chunks of raw meat, organs, severed limbs, and what seems to be gallons and gallons of blood. She pours it in. She pours it into the cauldrons, and you can hear and smell blood sizzling and reacting with the molten gold. The smell is metallic, but also like charred meat. She begins stirring it with a jeweled golden ladle. And she says, and she has the face of a pig. She says, my offer is very simple. All the gold of this place, hidden away by the servants of this land, I will give it to you in exchange for meat and blood and bones. Which of you, to the two of you, Saray and Vero, which of you will make the offering and receive this bounty from the past?
Saray's kind of awestruck, and she kind of looks at Vero, and there's like kind of an innocence there initially, but then it's fading. It's fading as she sees her goals in front of her, and you see a hardening of her face and her you almost like a grimace as she stares at Vero and then back at the Sow Queen.
Vero also like regards the Sow Queen, regards Saray, looks back at the Sow Queen and nods. And at that, he makes a lunge towards Saray.
Let's have the contest roll to see who's going in the pit.
Could you remind us how the contest roll works?
I will. I've got the rules in front of me right here. Let me pull it up. So this is a brand new roll that was added to Trophy Dark and Trophy Gold. It's in the Trophy Dark PDF in case anybody wants to look it up. It's a fabulous, fun roll, and it's always in Ring 5. And it seems like it always happens in Ring 5 and in Trophy Dark. The contest roll. So basically, this is when two hunters are basically trying to act against each other. We roll to see who succeeds, who gets what they want. And it's very straightforward. You take one light die if the contest is something you are skilled at because of your occupation or background. No matter how many skills, you only get one light die. So if you have a skill that would help you grab the other person and throw them into a fire pit, you get a light die.
So
who wants to make their case?
I think I have trickery.
Okay.
So if I could retcon, instead of doing the lunge, like walking over Saray to and like pretending to do like an embrace, like okay girl, you got this, like embrace around the shoulders. But that's not really a brace around the shoulders. That's like getting a firm grasp on her shoulders so we can give her a good shove.
So a bit of a trick. Okay, you've got your light die. What do you think, Saray?
I could see it two ways. One is maybe interpretation. Maybe she could read his betrayal. The other one is maybe flattery. Maybe she's just as evil as him. And
I like interpretation. Like you can see it coming, right?
Yeah.
Like you can kind of read the room here. So you've both got one light die. That's awesome. Let's keep going. You take one light die for each mark of ruin you currently have. So if you have, you both have 4. So you're both getting 4 more light dice.
So we're both at 5.
Yeah. And then you take one dark die if the contest is inherently deadly or dangerous. It definitely is. And then you take as many additional dark dice as you wish to risk. Now, you're going to roll them. Whoever has the most 6s wins the contest. And then we go down to 5s and 4s if we need to. For each dark die that rolls a 1, you mark ruin for each one. So it's really going to come down to how many dark dice do you wish to risk in order to win. You might win the contest, but you might lose your character to the ruin. So.
Yeah, I had that happen a couple of times when I've used contest rolls in Dark.
So what do you think?
Is there a max as far as the dark dice, or is it just whatever?
As many as you wish.
As many as you wish. All right.
So we've each got 5 light dice. So that's
you'll have 5 light and 1 dark currently. Yeah.
Yep.
And we need 1s to get an increase in ruin. Is that right?
Yeah. Any dark die that comes up on the dark dice, if it comes up a 1, your ruin goes up, and it goes up for 1. Each one that does, you go up by 1. And you're looking for 6s ultimately.
I'm rolling 5-5.
Okay, Vero.
I'm rolling 5. I'm rolling 5-4.
Okay, So you'll both do risk on the die roll. You'll just do risk 5, 5, and 5.
Oh, that's right. There's no contest roll risk.
So it looks like Saray has 2 6s.
6s.
And Vero
Plus
has
come up.
1 6. Saray wins the contest. Vero goes into the pit, and Vero also ruin went up by 1, but that doesn't matter at this point. Saray's ruin didn't go up at all. So Saray, you have the floor. What happens here?
I think she sees the betrayal in his eyes, and she sees basically kind of him look at the Sow Queen, and there's just a brief second that there's like maybe a dark smile that passes over his face before he looks back at her. And as he approaches, he kind of, I guess, outstretches his hands in very welcoming manner. And I think this is the point at which Saray moves forward swiftly and tries to throw him off balance, and I think is successful. And he stumbles towards one of the pots, and there's a splash and a searing kind of grisly, like burning flesh sound, as she doesn't even look at Vero anymore. She's just staring at the beauty of the Sow Queen, and she's just kind of this radiant glow on her face as she smiles back to the creature. And I think the spider swells up through her throat, and she doesn't try to remove it, but it comes up to her, and she holds it in her hand, and she pets it lightly, staring at the glowing room filled with gold, and thinking to Lord Hafir and the retribution that she'll have when the armies march upon him and show him the true vengeance for what he's done, and finally getting what he deserves.
We'll go straight to epilogues. We're going to take a little break so you can think about your epilogue, but everyone keep your epilogue focused on your character. Try not to implicate another character in your epilogue. It can be any point in the future, the immediate future or the far future. And if you are destroyed, like 2 of you are, you can epilogue like showing the aftermath of whatever happened to you, basically, right? So however you wish to do it. But in any case, we'll take like 3 minutes, just a quick little break, and then we'll come back and do epilogues. Okay. Epilogues. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
I'll go first.
Okay.
We don't see Nima anymore. Instead, there's a camera goes overhead into the deepest part of the woods, far away, into what is the locals know as the Polygonous Woods, Polygonous Grove. And it's as you get deeper and deeper, it gets darker and darker, but there is an area that is desolate, and it's within a perfect circle in the deepest part. It's a perfect circle that's maybe an acre wide, and inside of that, the trees have rotted, and there's fungus has overtaken, and kind of alien flora has taken over. The ponds that are in there are kind of choked with weeds and scum that's on top. And the camera goes closer, deeper into this circle, and it zooms into a frog, a close-up of a frog that seems to have wandered in the area, and it blinks and it just dives into the pond, and the camera keeps going up to a small house, and near the house there's like a shrine, and the shrine has it's also covered with overgrown by this kind of alien flora, and but you can see like an old shrine made out of binded twigs and vines, and there's like a bend in it that is extremely taut, but it seems very like it's held up. And you just kind of, as you're looking at it, you can see the tension happening, and then it snaps. And that's it.
Wonderful, thank you.
Mind if I go next?
Correct.
So, so what the viewers at home see is it's a flashback. It's the three of us. It's that final scene of the three of us in the alchemy shop, plotting our, plotting our trip to go to the plantation to, do whatever treasure hunting we were going to do. And so it's like a replay of the last 30 seconds of that initial scene that was in episode 1. And the three of us exit the shop. The camera stays put, and the alchemist who runs the shop, looks up and watches us walk out, nods, and then he calls over his shoulder, "Well, they're off." A woman walks in from a back room, and it's Sow Queen, who looks but she's not pig-like. She's got some kind of glamour on her, so that she looks like a normal woman, kind of like what she looked like in that vision we saw of her earlier. And she walks up and she puts her hand on the alchemist's shoulder and says, did they take the bait?" And he says, yes, they did. And she says, "Excellent." And the camera zooms in on an amulet that the alchemist is wearing, and it's the symbol of the swirling court.
Very nice. Good.
All right. I think what you see for Saray is kind of the taking of a castle by a military force, the rebels finally seizing control of Lord Hafir's keep, rushing up, and then him barricading himself in this, inner room where he has a few confidants. And he's sitting there by the fire, this kind of crackling fire, as he hears people pounding on the door. And finally it busts open. And you see a woman walk in, and she's got a black cloak on. And as she withdraws the cloak, he stares at her in fear, but he doesn't recognize her at first. Her face is kind of streaked with black lines, and she doesn't speak directly to him. Instead, as she stands before him, she opens her mouth, and this spider comes out. And as it speaks, her body seems to speak with it, and he kind of shrieks back in fear. And she says, "I told you you would die by a woman that you loved, and now you shall." And she takes a sword and just swipes and decapitates him.
And so passes the plantation. Let's go to stars and wishes. Stars are things we enjoyed about the whole series, not just tonight. It can be the whole thing. And wishes in this context are whatever I guess maybe like something you might have liked to have seen, or maybe if you had done something differently, how it might have shaken out, or peered around a certain corner, or it could just be something about the system that you want to comment on. But in any case, I'll start today. I love this. This is really good. The story was fantastic. There was so many good interpersonal scenes with the characters. I loved just the whole vibe. The flashbacks worked out great. That was an improvisation. That's not an actual incursion, and so I had fun with that. And I love that I was able to get Saint Hester in there. That's like, just because that's my big contribution to the setting, and one of my only contributions to the setting. And so, yeah, I really loved just the whole thing was just so good. The story felt like we could have been watching it was like we were watching like a movie or like prestige television. Like it just had a really, really great feel. I was really, really into it. The scene with this particular scenes, the highlight scene for me was definitely the scene between Nima and the noble eating the sister's forearm. That was like so gruesome and but the symbolism was so thick. The sort of like references to what had happened in the past, like all of it was just coming through so strongly. And I loved how that moment ended with that book ending of Nima stabbing another noble, right? You know, like and like so that was really great. Enjoyed all that. And but there were just so many good highlight scenes. I mean, I love the scene. The very final scene was great. The like, oh, I loved it was a really quick thing. It was like if you blinked and you missed it kind of thing. But I loved Shore when you talked about like how Saray looking out the window to the little brick house was like the little girl in your vision looking out the window to the brick house. That was really good. And I quite liked this scene with the Sow Queen and Vero. That was really terrific. The twist was really good, and the flash, like in the epilogue. So yeah, just good stuff all around. I'll think about wishes in a minute if somebody wants to go now for stars.
I really, for a star, Nima's kind of switch into kind of a emotional support for, you know, I think that was just incredible. Just to, like, I mean, it was almost like you were kind of viewing her as your sister. I don't know if that was, you know, in what way it was meant, but I feel like my character took it very literally. And yeah, that was just an incredible scene when you were kind of holding Saray. So I really like that. That's definitely a star for me. And Vero, I think it was great, kind of the suspense of us kind of building up a trust that in the final moments was betrayed. And that contest role, that was really cool. I haven't done a contest role before, and I thought that was a lot of fun to see that. And yeah, I would have liked to seen how maybe my wish would be, you know, how it turned out if Vero took the contest. Yeah.
So stars all around. I mean, this was a fantastic this is a fantastic session. The 2-part series. I had a ball with this one. So much great role playing, so many like wonderful moments. I think everyone did great with callbacks and bringing in drives, bringing in backgrounds, playing off each other. I think everyone did a really good job with that. And again, I think to call out specific moments, I'll have to echo Jason in that I loved the scene of Nima and the noble and her sister. That was so creepy and so intense. Yeah, that was an utterly fantastic scene. And yeah, I'll also echo the that scene between Nima and Saray, you know, giving comfort, which I thought was a great turn from Nima had originally been, you know, cantankerous and feral, and but then after the flashback with her sister, you know, seeing the turn for that character, I think was just really, I think that was really dramatic and pretty moving. Yeah, this is a fantastic game. I really had a great time with this.
I'm going to throw in another star real quick before you go, Jay. I really like there were a few moments that were like just had so much like emotional resonance throughout this, particularly this session. And the Soraya and Nima embracing scene was definitely one of those. I agree with that. But and also Soraya looking out the window. The other one that really, really had a lot of emotional resonance for me was when you first described success smelling like sunlight, you know, and then making sunlight, the payoff of the sunlight being the gold, right? It was so good. And like walking into the sunlight, I really, really, really dug that. It like had a lot of emotional resonance. I just want to make sure I got that star in there. So go ahead, Jay.
Well, thank you guys. I really enjoyed this 2-part session. This game was amazing. This is probably some of the best role playing I've been able to participate in. And it's always something that I always want to happen in my games, and I do try to like have this sort of internal motivations of all the characters, and it's good to be where everyone in the session is also going for the same thing. And because sometimes in games people have their minds are in different places, so sometimes you don't always get that. And I feel like we were all clicking. I love the whole Sow Queen stuff. So great. And yeah, just all the role playing was fantastic. I have to say, the character of Nima kind of clicked with me this session. And the whole idea, I was really kind of stumped, like, what did this Caligulus Grove mean, and what does it mean to restore lost glory? And just having it kind of a more internal glory was, yeah, it was amazing. I'm so glad that it was presented, that opportunity was presented to do that.
I think what I loved about that scene between the noble and Nima was the noble was so clearly like condescending and judgmental about Nima's background and like and like that was so good. Like it just this sort of like, it felt like so much like coming home, thematically, which I thought was really great. Like the idea of you trying to restore lost glory to this place, and the noble being like, oh, you're going to tell me a little folk tale, from your little country bumpkin, life or whatever, So yeah, I really dug that thematically. I thought that was really, really great.
And I really liked it when you used you were talking about him not getting flies. He's like, well, I've never gotten flies before from eating your kind.
That was like our dreams for months. What are you talking about? Oh, one other star. The swirling court symbol on the underside of the trapdoor, so good. That was such a great touch, Mike, because it totally changed it. Like that was so cool because it, on the dime, in the moment, totally changed my whole idea about that scene coming up. Like it just made it a totally different scene, and but it was great. Like it was like, oh, I had an idea for what was going to happen, but now I have an even better idea because of this little detail that Mike's given us. So yeah, that was really great.
And
love that.
That's like the magic of a game like this, is that there's twists and turns. And I love the callback, Mike, of the swirling court at the end, and that kind of villainous the villainous turn of the alchemist. It was great.
Good stuff. Any other wishes or stars before we go?
I think my only wish is I'd love for us to play again sometime. So.
Yeah, same.
Well, I will. I mean, I could probably get this little group of 4 together at some point again. I'll definitely keep it in mind, and like when I'm kind of putting together little games, I would be happy to run Trophy Gold for you as well if that's something anybody's interested in.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I need second edition AD&D.
I could do that also. I'm really good at second edition AD&D. I can run some fantasy games. That's my bread and butter. But yeah, that'd be great. So yeah, I'll be in touch. But yeah, thank you all so much. It was really, really terrific. Had such a good time.
This is fantastic.
Just an A+ experience all around, and it was great to. I've never played with you, Mike, so that was really fun. And Jay, it was great to play with you again. Shore, it was nice to meet you and kind of see how you play. That was awesome. So yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording. And